Who's ready? Whoop, 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 whoop. Who's ready? Let's have some fun, folks. Thanks for chilling. Thank you for sporting. Thank you for sporting your patience. Thanks for hanging with me. If you had never watched these streams, you might wonder why some dude's in an orange mask and dancing. Yeah, I like to have fun. And when I teach, when I talk to you, when we're hanging out, man, I like to start it out right. That's Church of Eight Wheels. That's been my intro, outro song here on YouTube for, 7 or 8 years. Cheds trading on YouTube. If you haven't really, if you're new to the channel, I don't know, who's watching, replay and live and all that. I don't know, how familiar you are with my stuff. I'm pretty much a pure price guy. I don't really think about projects. It's all just numbers. It's a trend to me. And that's been my approach. And I studied CMT, which is Chartered Market Technician. I did level 1. And so what I try to do is I have a very good grip on Eastern TA, which is candlestick theory. I think that might be my expertise. But I'm also pretty strong in classical charting. I've read the textbooks and, CMT. So I try to teach all that stuff. And that's what my YouTube is for. It's not like generating money, right? I don't stream all the time. It's just just a repository, a place to put timeless education, right? So for example, I've published 4 books. You can buy them on Amazon or you can get them free, on my YouTube channel. I've been working on, and thanks for letting me just explain this real quick, folks. I've been working on my 3rd book, Trading Quotes. Here's the playlist, and I'm recording the entire book for free, and I'm 70% done, right? My latest book, The Trading Journal, which teaches you why you should use a trading journal, how to fill one out, sample trades, trading concepts, all that good stuff. And that's free in the encyclopedia. I'm super proud of the encyclopedia. There's over 400 videos now. And let's just see some of the newest ones. So published newest. Rising wedge, falling wedge, 3 drives, morning star, some quotes from my books, bullish and bearish, abandoned baby. And the idea is if you hear, Wyckoff accumulation, when you hear people talking about stuff, it can be kind of intimidating. If you're on Twitter or X, by the way, I'm Big Cheds, you hear people talking about stuff. You don't really know what it is. And you love to know, what's a trusted source. And that's what this is. You can, outside day, blue sky breakout, measured move, range peak. So the idea is you should be able to look up anything in this playlist. It's up to about 420 videos. I'll get it to over 500. That's my goal. And so I'm just really, really proud of that. Candlestick theory, classical charting, cycle theory, double divergence. So that's my YouTube channel. It's here for you. I don't do updates all the time. I don't spam, but there's a new educational video every day. I'm on Twitter at Big Cheds. You may not know, but Bitcoin Live it's an educational platform. I think it's the best in the world for studying crypto, learning crypto, and I've been doing that for almost 8 years. And I'm a founding analyst, and I'm really proud of that. You can see what I do. Go to the public blog. I post a twice a week full market report for members there, and when you sign up, you can access the entire team's work. But we'll do charts today, and this stream is sponsored by BingX, which is my partner, and I've worked with BingX for 6 years, and they have a new DEX they're working with, Alpha X. You can sign up there. Now there's no fees at all. I think for at least 6 months or something. There's no fees in all pairs. It's kind of a new thing they're working on. So it's just trying to onboard people. You know how it goes. But I just have a great relationship with BingX. So this is sponsored by them, and thanks to them. But, we're here. Now we're here. And now that you're listening, I want to make this interactive. So the way I do these streams is that I start out by just riffing on the chart and trying to get us caught up from the last stream. I usually stream once a week around this time. And I'll just talk for a while, and then I open it up to you so you can get your questions ready. You can put them in now. You can ask your questions later. But it's your feedback, which I love, and I love being able to interact with you. So what do we think about Bitcoin? I mean, this is a massive spot. And I did put in the tweet, I said, a big update. This is a pretty big update here because we're at a critical level. This is what a 2-level filter is. And so the 2-level filter, right? What is a 2-level filter? I tweeted that out. Let's see. Here we go. Bitcoin, 67K would trigger a 2-level filter breakout. This is from earlier in the month. Notable strength in the daily candle, even with the fake outs. Now, convincing SMA 20, right? The middle Bollinger Band. So that's back here. We've recaptured the 20. It had been resistance. We recaptured it. And so it's kind of the idea of, like, at what point does a downtrend stop? And how do you, how do you buy here, or do you buy on like a trend line break, or do you buy, at some level where you can define your risk, like a lower high or something, right? And that's what the 2-level filter break does, is once you've broken the trend line, right, shows you this trend of aggressive sellers, right? It's a falling supply trend. So once you've broken the trend line, you're watching now for the lower high break. So it's the diagonal and the horizontal break. That's 2-level filter, right? And of course, I have video on that concept. Someone says, riff it, brother. Thank you, man. So I have a video on that concept, but we're setting up for a 2-level filter breakout. And that's notable. And, but it's still, what does that mean though? Like, how do we put these potential bounces into perspective, right? So we understand the weekly chart is still pretty rough, and we're in a pretty strong. So again, reminder: primary uptrend, secondary. Come on, Cheds. Let's do it this way: primary uptrend, secondary downtrend, minor corrective phase. And we've been in between kind of the minor and secondary, but the secondary is in charge right now, right? The lower highs on the weekly, lower lows in the weekly, following the loss of SMA 50 and the failed throwback. That's all review. And so we've been in this pretty nasty downtrend that, even though it's it's technically a weekly uptrend, like, bears are in control. And, within that, here in the daily chart, pretty nasty downtrend. So we see that SMA 200 rejection, rejection just below lost support. And it's a question of, if we bounce here, and if we break out here, what would it mean? Well, it's still a downtrend overall until more, until more checkpoints have been met. So let's say we break out here and, we bounce to, 73K or 76K, which is possible. It still has to deal with the lower high structure. We still have the lower highs. We're still well below SMA 50, which needs to be recaptured, and below really 82, 83K. So in terms of, like, the question everyone wants to know, people don't necessarily want nuance, because they want to know buy, sell, top, bottom, top. I want, 100%, confirmation. The thing is, you're going to need more to know that the bottom is in on the higher time frame, right? And you should still be waiting for more, just given what Bitcoin has done historically. And, so what would it mean? Well, you'd have to recapture the 50. The 50's curling down, catching up to the price, close back up above the MA 50 on the weekly, SMA, equally weighted, and probably jump back into this range. So if we get into a situation where we're trading back up above these lows, above this high, and we're closing above this moving average on a weekly time frame, then the bottom's in. But there's a ways to go to there. There's other benchmarks. We have a bounce into a lower high. You could have a bounce into here. You could have a bounce into this trend, and there's still room for rollover, such that you can't declare a high time frame bottom yet, but you can still play a trade, right? So even though I still have my bottom call in for somewhere in this range later in the year, I point out to you, and I know people follow me, and I try to provide value, and I try to be objective. You still absolutely can, and I think you should take a long trade if we get a break of 67K. Because it would be a genuine 2-level filter breakout. And if you get that breakout, and again, your confirmation method will be up to you. Well, Cheds, how do I know it's broken out? Well, if you want to wait for intercandle, you can take it, which means during the session. You could wait for a 4-hour close. You could wait for a daily close. That's all discussed in, let's go to most popular. That's all discussed in the encyclopedia, confirmation, how do I confirm a breakout or a breakdown. So if you get a genuine breakout on the 2-level filter here, all right, I think it's a pretty good shot that we bounce all the way up to around 73K. And that's what I've been talking about at Bitcoin Live. And you could see a nice bounce here into the SMA 200, maybe a rejection and roll over, retest, see what happens, maybe failure, maybe not. But even though the weekly picture is still quite grim, and even though there's still a lot of bear momentum, you can still take a trade based on technique, based on a well-defined level. So that's where I'm at, right? And it's a bounce. there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here, right? It's a nice move, lower to upper Bollinger Band move, 58 to 66K, right? This is, of course, following that major February low. If you'll remember, I basically forecasted that we should bounce here, and we had a really nice move, 60 to whatever 82K. Then I've been a little bit skeptical in the retest, especially here after kind of failed moves. But you've got the price now pushing back towards the 200, way above, right? Confirmed downtrend territory. How do I know it's a downtrend? Well, and by the way, if you're looking at all these squiggles, these lines, some people think it's too many. Some people think it's I need more. I mean, that's great. There's different ways to do it. All my moving averages are explained here in Moving Average Basics. Also, there's a video, what are my moving averages? I think it's number 12. That will explain it to you. The difference between an EMA, exponential moving average, basically meaning, for example, more price weighting to the most recent candle versus an SMA or an MA, which basically means simple or equally weighted moving average. And I'm using a combination of both. And the point I was bringing up is that a downtrend is priced below a falling SMA 200. So we're in daily downtrend territory. We're technically bouncing a downtrend, but you can still just play simple classical charting, horizontal levels. Recapture here would allow you to define your risk. If you take a long in a break of 67K, you can, say, okay, I'm long as long as it holds above 66.5 or 66K. You have some nice asymmetry, right? Asymmetry, and I have a video on that, the concept of asymmetry, but the idea that, say your stop loss is here, say it's 1,000, spot price, and you think it can at least go, 3,000 above, that would be a 3-to-1 risk to rewards. The minimum you need, you got pretty good asymmetry here for a trade up to around 72, 73K if we break here. So still think it's probably going lower, but I can still observe the structure and then take the trade if we get there, right? We shall see. The day is young, the candle's young. If we get the breakout, would like to see volume on the break. We see a general trend of a volume trend, right? I have a video on that concept. What's the volume trend? I have a video on volume and breakouts. And you'd like to see, as a bull, like to see a breakout here with some volume to confirm the move. And that's it. I mean, the Bitcoin picture to me is still pretty simple, and I think we still know what we're looking at. We're seeing altcoins are making some interesting moves, so I kind of want to riff here. If you guys don't mind, if it's okay, I just want to move around a little bit first, and then I'd love to hear your requests, and I'll get to them, right? The chat room is filling up. The requests are filling up. It's really nice, and thanks for hanging out, folks. So that's where we're at in Bitcoin. You have a game plan. And furthermore, I'll point out, if we do reject here, for those who are watching and learning, I think you're pretty clearly going to draw what's the most important level would be the high or low, some rising demand structure, 61, 61.5, right? So keep an eye on that if we fail here. Now, before I move on, I guess I'll discuss divergence, right? And I've covered this a bunch. This is a tricky concept for people because there's a lot of different ways to do it. This is maybe more art than anything because there's a lot of nuance. And to learn what to do, you just go to the encyclopedia. I have videos on regular divergence, hidden divergence, double divergence, specifically on RSI, which a lot of people use, which is a bounded oscillator, which I only use for continuation divergence, not regular. And then I have OBV on balance volume, which I use for regular divergence. And I have videos on all these things. You can really brush up. Now, it's one of those things where I can say, okay, say we close up here, right? You can visually see a divergence, pretty clear, right? Again, remember you're drawing from candle body close to candle body close because the oscillator computes, it registers its data point when the candle closes, which is why you can switch to a line chart to make things easier on yourself. But very clearly, it would be a higher high, and this would be a mild bear divergence. It would be flat highs in the OBV. Now, if you get a breakout and then volume, what that would do is on the next green candle or this green candle with volume, it would pull the OBV up, and then it would match the trend. So essentially, it would be a volume-supported breakout, right? We're not quite there. Mild divergence, but mostly matches the trend. And the RSI here, mostly matches the trend. Are we going to be able to re-enter the power zone? If we see what the RSI has been unable to do that, I mean, going back pretty much, a little bit of a penetration here, a little bit there. Let's zoom back out. I mean, that's all the way up there when the price is topping out. right? That's all the way up there and the price is topping out. But in these successive thrusts, it's been unable to re-enter the power zone. Essentially an RSI failure swing of sorts. And I have a video on that concept, which is a failure swing, which is essentially where if you look at the RSI, I hope you folks don't mind if I kind of bounce around here, but the the gist of it is normally a typical thing is, say you enter overbought, which is actually a buy signal, not a sell signal, because trends tend to continue and the biggest gains come after being overbought. What you look for is when you leave the power zone, can you re-enter it? And that would be a failure swing. Same thing here. This would be a bearish failure swing. It's a buy signal, and we got that here. RSI failure swing bullish, right? So we have this bullish failure swing. And so those are things you look at. It'll be interesting to see if we break out, can the price re-enter the power zone? We've seen these pushes fail there, okay? It's a little in the RSI. Now, a lot of people have talked about the weekly divergence. And my thing with the RSI for regular divergence, and I've lectured on this, I've talked about it. The problem with the RSI, it's a bounded oscillator. And bounded essentially means it's limited by, it can't go below 0, it can't go above 100. So you get artificial divergence, right? It tops out early, and you get you get lower highs a little bit early. So you can always draw a divergence, but it's usually an early warning sign. You generally want to wait for maybe like a double divergence where you get like 2 unsupported highs, or two higher lows or something like that. So a lot of people are just pointing to, great, like, ooh, there's RSI bull divergence. I mean, that's fine. And again, it depends how you want to draw it, but mostly you're going to start here on the candle wick, and there you have that, and there's your divergence. So there is a divergence, but it's RSI, it's a bounded oscillator. I prefer to use the RSI for continuation divergence, like where you get like a higher high in the RSI, that shows that without and a higher high and like a lower high in price, that's a bearish divergence that the trend's going to continue, right? Or even a lower low in the RSI and a higher low in the price, that's a bullish hidden divergence or continuation divergence. And there's nuance on that, okay? Very, very mild divergence with the OBV, but it's pretty much lining up, and that will resolve around this price or a little bit higher, resolving, meaning that it would just basically be matching, what the price trend is doing. Again, I have a video on RSI. I have a video on divergence resolving, what it means to resolve. So those are some things to discuss. Let's do Ethereum. I'm going to do Ethereum, and then I'm going to jump in with the chat, and then I'll jump back to my stuff. So I had talked about an 1850 long trigger on Ethereum. That has played out. So that's our throwback or bullish retest level to keep an eye on thus far. We did have a throwback here. As a reminder, a throwback is not just, it's not like, wearing some clothes from a few decades earlier. It's a bullish retest. It's throwing back to broken resistance as opposed to what's called a pullback, which is a retest from the underside of lost support. You see this all the time in altcoins, setting up for generally a short setup. So those are that's the concept, and this is also how you stair step. You build rising demand, and you turn via the principle of polarity, which is where support turns into resistance, and I have videos on that. I should get a T-shirt that says I have a video on that. But in any case, 1850, and then pushing into the overhead. So the next level here is right around 2K. What's interesting is the outperformance. We've seen some outperformance in Ethereum versus Bitcoin, which typically tends to mark later cycle behavior when we see Ethereum outperform Bitcoin. Now, we'll see if that continues. We're seeing our first thrust into the SMA 200. Still a downtrend. Can it flip that? Can we get back up above the 200? It is notable, at least in this pair, back up above this level. And then you generally see the trend as well. You can draw that across, and we're starting to break that. So there's some outperformance of Ethereum versus Bitcoin. All right, let's get to your question. So Crooklyn said, what would be the confirmation that we successfully rejected from 66.67? That's a great question. I answered that earlier. You have to go to the Trading Encyclopedia, Crooklyn, DiMaggio. The top video is confirmation. How do I confirm a breakout or a breakdown? In classical charting, there's many ways to confirm a breakout. So here's our level, and have we broken out? Well, if you're trading intra-candle, if you can watch it all the time, sure, it's broken out, right? But Is it confirmed? Well, what's your methodology? Are you waiting for a 15-minute candle close? Is it a 1-hour candle close? Is it a price distance, a certain price distance from the level? Is it a certain number of days above the level? There's all these methods you can use. You have to decide what works for you based on your risk tolerance and, like how much you can watch the chart. That's confirmation. There's no, this is confirmation. It's someone has their own individual methodology for confirmation. If you're a little bit more conservative, a daily close should be enough. I mean, that's a quite reasonable methodology to use, or even like 3-4 hour closes is quite reasonable, but you have to experiment with it. Depends. You have a day job, or are you watching the chart all day? If you're watching the chart all day, you can enter more intercandle and just manage your risk because you're watching the price. Okay. You're welcome. Let's get to your chat room. Captain says, what's up, Big Cheese? How you doing? What's up, Big Dog? Luca, thank you. Happy Tuesday, Psalm Capital. Good to see you. Greetings from Qatar. Thank you. He says, I love your trading videos. Thank you for that. Folks, I'm going to the chat room now. So if there are coins you want to look at, I have a whole bunch of stuff I want to look at. I do want to scan through these altcoins. I want to look through not only that, but I have this other list of altcoins I'd like to look through with you. And then maybe we can even look at like big board stuff, not just, crypto proxy, but we can look at like, solar energy ETF, TAN, whatever. I mean, we'll look at anything you guys want, okay? So I'm reading through the chat room now, and then this is a good opportunity to kind of, and ask your questions. Don't be shy. You're here. You've taken the time to sit here and watch me, and your commentary, your questions, they fill me up, so thank you, okay? So we covered Bitcoin, Ethereum to start. Okay, Marvel. Someone wants to know about Marvel. Let's do it. First one. I'm going down the list. So the earlier, the better. You have a better chance of me looking at your request. So someone wants to know about Marvel. I think I might have. Here we go. So what do we think about Marvel? Interesting. So I had just covered this for Bitcoin Live. And so we see here, if we kind of zoom back, okay, nice price trend, MA20, pardon me, EMA8. Nice kind of almost an ascending triangle type of look, right? Almost an ascending triangle type of look. And the price broke out from that. Not that way, sorry. The price broke, let's try it again. 1, 2, third time's a charm. The price broke out from that and then a big gap up. And you'll observe that it didn't hold here where you would have maybe initially expected it to hold, the bottom of the gap or the bottom of the window. It dropped below that right to this general throwback level. So it's held where you would hope it would initially, but it's somewhat like Bitcoin in the sense you've just got the strong falling channel. This is still a daily underside EMA8 primary resistance psalm. So I think to have any confidence that this is going to maybe bounce back up into the 250 range, you got to recapture here, which was a critical level that was briefly tested and lost. So keep an eye on that overhead. See if the price can hold there. You can have an edge to bulls, though, because you're within a rising trend environment, okay? Rakesh says, how does Magma look to you in the short term? Magma, what is this? Is that an altcoin? Is that Magma Group? Is that this, or is it a crypto? Let me know, because there's two Magmas. Let me know which one. I'll do this one both real quick. Probably not this one. This looks like it's OTC. Delayed. Let's go to this one. So I assume that it's a crypto. How does Magma look to me? I don't like how it gave back this whole move. So that's not a great thing. It still does have a general rising trend to it, as evidenced, by the SMA 200. But I just don't like, giving back this much of a pump. And now you're essentially, the problem is you're underside. You're below all this lost support. So any kind of a bounce has to deal with that. Must hold here. Let's clean it up. I'd be very careful in this. I mean, if you're opening up a new long position down here is reasonable if you define your risk as the price really needing to hold above that 25 cents level. Okay, what else we got? Let's see. If there's low volume, so great question, Rising Sun. In regards to Bitcoin, we've been discussing the two-level filter breakout, a potential long trade one could take even while expecting the price to go to, 35, 45K later in the year. you can still take a trade here again, right? Because you have a potential bounce into this structure. It's a well-defined 2-level filter, diagonal and horizontal. The question is, if there's low volume on the break, still chop between 50 and 75 and reasonable. I'm not sure I understand your question. What I would say is this, right? Like more volume, and I discussed it a bit. You want to see volume in the breakout, but still price is what's most important. And at the end of the day, it's either going to hold the breakout level or not. So if it breaks 67 and it holds there, you don't really care if there's volume or not. I mean, you'd prefer it, but I mean, that's how you're defining your risk. Like, can bulls defend that level? So I can still very much see a break here potentially. Oh, no, we don't want that. Thank you, TradingView. I hate, they redo the stuff. Look at that question marks right there when I'm trying to grab the tool. But not wrong tool. Anyway, you could very, very easily see a bounce from here into some lower high here or here, and then continue. Because again, you have to understand trends within trends within trends, still within the context of this falling channel on the weekly. Okay, but it's still a beautiful trade to take if we get it. We're very close to taking it. Good day to you, Dexy, DEXE. This one's crazy. This one had been, I mean, look at that. What happened here? 70%. I haven't looked into it. I'm sure you folks probably know better than I do. I don't know if it's delisting or maybe they just discovered the founder was, Jeffrey Epstein or something. I mean, like, who knows? This is clearly a broken down chart. I would just not touch it. I just wouldn't touch it, even though it's a first MA200 tag, on heavy volume. This just looks like a broken chart, which is why you take profit. And one of the members of Bitcoin Live, I'd been discussing how to take profit for this chart specifically. And I basically said you kind of ladder your sells, and just, ride free, and you can live with whatever happens. And that individual had sold 60, 70% of their position from here by the time they get up here. And I was like, great, now whatever happens, you're okay. This is a volatile move. This, in theory, could happen in any crypto chart. We don't really see it that often, but it's one of the reasons that I believe in taking profit along the way. Because every time you sell a little bit, whether you're taking a small loss, or you're taking small profit, you're defining your risk, and it's just easier to handle the remaining position. Okay, Luca wants me to look at Solana. Let's do it. Let's get caught up. Once I get caught up in the chat room, I'll look at everything else that I want to look at. So here we go for Sol. Yeah, I just need to see it back up above 81.82. Now, I had initially expected rejections here in the 74.75 range. It didn't happen, and it is building a little rising demand. We have a low, we have a higher low. Now we have a higher low to watch as well at 74. We can drag the rising demand trend, and there's a story developing. There's momentum bubbling up, and the price is approaching what is called the apex or the decision point of the triangle. I have a video on that. I have a video on ascending triangle, but it's still within this falling environment, right? So it's prudent to wait for this last level where the price rejected to see if it can flip that. So I think it's pretty straightforward. CryptoDoc says, to annoy you, can you change to dark mode? This is funny. And I did a poll, and apparently 2/3 of you prefer dark mode. I want to switch, but this has worked for me. I've had a very good. I'm not perfect. I make a ton of mistakes, but I've got a really good track record following the price, just looking at it the way it is. The moving averages, the colors, how bold the moving, everything, how it's set up. And I tried dark mode, and I just can't make it look right. It just looks terrible to me. So I know it's disappointing, and I do apologize, but I think you'd probably prefer that I give you my cleanest read. It's the reason you follow me. It's the reason some of you have me on alerts, notifications, and Twitter X. I try to keep that in mind and not abuse it. I try to provide value and important observations and setups and stuff. So I'm just not going to switch to dark mode. Okay, let's see. Let's continue. We covered Dexy. Oil, let's talk about, hey, what's up, Matage? Good to see you, brother. Let's look at the West, good old West Texas. Texas tea. right? Let's look at the West Texas crude. Clearly, this is a pretty clear M top that is played out. I thought this might do, there's TradingView again with this little annoying pop-up. But I had initially thought we were going to do maybe like, continuation head and shoulders. That failed. We ended up really just completing an M top, right? M top, breakdown, not quite measured move, but what happened was right into the gap, bounced right back into underside. So it's pretty straightforward that you really just have support had been defended for quite a while. It broke down, paused, the downtrend paused at a logical level, and now we have a strong price advance into, I'd say, critical underside here. So rather than, I'd say best bet actually is more chop than a straight breakout. Maybe here, like, you know what I mean? This has more of a chop look. Look at the slope of the MA200. I would expect the price to continue behavior that would be, similar to that. Again, I have videos on like slope of the moving average. So that's my read on that. SanDisk. I was watching this one too. Weekly scan. SanDisk here. Look at SanDisk. Okay. Big old Christmas tree pattern, right? Big old V top. Found support. We know where support is. We didn't quite test it, but I think that's a logical level to earmark. Obviously, super blood, market crashes. Keep an eye on that level. But it's got some work to do because the worm has turned a little bit, right? Loss of MA50. It's the first real sustained loss of this is the orange line. MA50, simple moving average, equally weighted. It's the first real loss of that level, for a long time, since like under $100, right? So clearly the trend is pausing. It needs time to digest this just insane move it's made, right? I would be patient and expect this to consolidate more and focus on, can bulls defend the 1250 level, okay? Rakesh says Dexy's at, 3-month support. Yeah, but this is just like a broken chart to me. I just wouldn't play this. If you do this, you see something like this is okay, chart's broken. A mild drop to this level would make more sense. It'd be interesting. I would avoid this chart. Okay. Rocket Labs, RKLB. Let's take a look at Rocket Labs. Go back here. Get into your request. I love the request. And then I'll show you all the altcoins. I know you folks are here. Some of you here just for Bitcoin. Some of you are here for the dancing. And you're just hanging out. Thanks for being here. Let's look at Rocket Labs. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely definite loss of momentum. And it's notable for me that it did not hold here around 89.90. We're now below the MA200. And it's really, look at this. This is the first real, just something I would tweet out. I mean, look at that. This is first MA200 loss, like pretty much since $3, right? I mean, since multi-year. This is a loss of momentum as well. Loss of the MA200, that's a loss of momentum. See these failed throwbacks. All these spots you would have expected bulls to step in and to reassert, some control over the trend, and it's just not there. So I would be quite careful with this one, okay? Can you do TA on a rug pull is a question. Yeah, I mean, yes, but not really. That's the thing, right? You can't really do a TA on a rug pull, which is why I'd say avoid it. Dexy, right? All right, I'm going to scan through, and then I'm going to get back. There's a bunch of requests, so thank you, folks. So let me go back. I love all these requests. So let me pause. I'm going to look at a couple alts I want to look at. Let's just go down the list. So hype, a little bit of a loss of momentum. I had been expecting more of an ascending triangle continuation look. A little bit of a loss of that trend. A little bit of failed higher low. Testing here. Must hold 58. I think if that fails, we're probably going to the mid to high 40s. Zcash, want to focus on it holding at 512. TRX, curling up, I think, 4. Bullish continuation. Venice token, underside test. I tweeted that out. That's quite clear. I think if you get a shot around $9, it'd be worth it. JST's bullish, holding the throwback level. Near, it's kind of chilling, not really doing too much, but you do have a local pivot to watch for sure. Gold measured move met to 4K. Waiting for the bounce. Don't quite see the bounce yet, and see an early stage another descending triangle forming, right? Early stages. We'll see if we get follow through. I would have expected more reaction from this area. We don't have it yet. I've been watching silver for a little bit lower. Maybe that's front run, maybe not, but I do think worth a sniff at 52s. Iron, nice morning doji star. 3-candle combination with the doji in the middle versus the spinning top, making it a morning doji star. Let's look at these alts as well. Pump had some mojo. Pump's looking pretty good. Look at that. Right off of the bottom, this is absolutely a 2-level filter breakout. Okay, descending supply trend, and whether you manage it with this high or this high, 2-level filter breakout. So you absolutely can be long, and I'd probably be managing my risk based on that 0018 area. Litecoin, some tweets are out about it, but this is just still kind of flat as a pancake. I mean, you do have a local break. I know one of my colleagues really likes the structure, but just, I mean, look at this price distance to the 200, well below loss support. To me, this is a wait, and if it can bounce a little bit higher, take a short. So if this gets up to around 50, I think it would be a very nice short setup. EGLD, been watching this because the volume off of the bottom still needs to do something, hasn't quite done it. Useless, nice candle at key support. I had tweeted this one out as well. And okay, let's come back to the list. I'll pause here and let's go to the list. Let's catch up in the chat. I don't want to leave you folks hanging. All right, Rocket Labs. Rising Sun says, I missed the answer if there's low volume and 2-level filter break. I already covered that. It either holds the level or not. That's what's important. And it's still reasonable that it may chop, below, this is Bitcoin, right? And it's still reasonable. What do you mean you missed? You can just go watch the answer, but I covered it a couple times. It's very likely potential bounce into this falling trend, okay? Can you please give me your opinion on a link short? Sure, great question. Let's take a look at this. I love your questions. I love to be able to do this, and I love that I can hang out with you folks all around the world. On a link short, Okay, so here's what I would say. 2 ways to take a short. I mean, two pretty straight up ways. First would be, support level that's lost, and you bounce into it, right? And that's just a clear underside retest. You also can observe a situation where you have structure, whether it be at the bottom of a downtrend, like this, or at an uptrend like that. You can look for an upthrust, right? You can look for a fake out breakout and just define your risk that way. So if you're looking to short link, I would either wait for a loss. I'd probably wait for loss of like around 820, or I'd want to see this a little bit higher. I want to see it bounce right up to around 920 into the SMA 200. And then I would probably, I'm on the daily now, I'd probably drop to like a 4-hour time frame and look for some structure. I'd look for an upthrust. I'd look for some structure. So I'd wait for it to bounce a little bit higher, or look for like an upthrust, maybe even a loss of 815 this level. Okay. Can I look at coin? Sure, I'm happy to do it. Let's look at coin. The bald coin, Coinbase. What do we think about Coinbase? And thanks for being here, folks. Still pretty flat, right? As you can see, just on initial glance, not that strong. Following MA 200, well below even local meaning nearby. I have a video on all these terms. Nearby range peak, well below there, well below loss support. It's held, but there's the thing. Simply holding support is not bullish, right? Just because you hold support, it's down to here, right? Just being here is not bullish. It just means it hasn't broken down yet. It really has to do with how the price gets there. You want to see a response first, right? Just, hanging out around here is not bullish. It just means it's consolidating before likely a move lower. So we don't really see that much strength yet. Yes, a local break because Bitcoin's got some juice, some mojo. But I would just be playing other things. Like you could even try to do a 2-level filter here, and you could even try maybe to find that or one of these levels, but you've got all this, it's muddled. It's It's not clean, not like Bitcoin, right? With a potential rise up here. And you've got all this clustered, structured resistance just above. So if I'm looking for, Bitcoin or crypto proxy, I think there's better options for cleaner structure, if that makes any sense. What's up, Seb? How you doing, man? He says, what do you think about Bitcoin 54K and Bitcoin? What do I think about it? I mean, if we get it, it's a key level of interest I've been talking about for a couple months now. It's this range low, the bottom of the 30-week bull flag, and it's still likely we get there under the concept of once you've re-entered a price range, you have the propensity or likelihood to test the bottom of it, right? What I'm saying is advance, bull rectangle, advance, come back, failed hold at the top of the structure. There's a very decent chance you test the bottom of the structure, right? Once you re-enter the range, the entire range comes into play, and it's just a logical level would be the next leg down. We're still in the falling environment. We haven't even closed above the EMA 8 yet, on the weekly, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Let's see. Stock request SMMT. Sure. What's this one? Summit. Okay, yep, heard of this one. Summit. Yeah, interesting. Kind of bleeding down though, huh? Like, what's the deal, right? When's it gonna kind of where's the the line must be drawn here, Captain Picard. Best of both worlds for my Trekkies out there. Where's support, man? It's just kind of bleeding down. I don't have a ton of confidence in this. And look at all the volume in these red candles. The OBV is just going to be dumping on this. Let's pull it up. There, look, see? Plenty. Look at all this distribution. Tons of distribution going on. This chart generally looks unhealthy to me, is what I would say. That's the weekly picture. Daily picture, basically still the same. It's just, look at this inability to hold support. Drifting down, probably goes to like, $8 or $10 is my best guess. Thoughts on, let's see, greetings from Venezuela. Okay, buenos dias, mi amigo. How many candles is needed to confirm the bullish breakout? You tell me. That's your decision. How do I confirm a breakout? Go to, mi amigo, Bas mi trading encyclopedia. Go to the trading encyclopedia, look at the first video. It explains how to confirm a breakout. It is based on your risk threshold, how much you can watch the chart. Is it 1 4-hour candle? Is it 2 4-hour candles? Is it 5% above the level? Is it 3 days above the level that it's confirmed? You have to decide. There's no correct answer for what confirms a breakout. There are just several different methods you can use to manage your risk, okay? Let's see. Have I tried using API to pull data from exchange and analyze it? No, I don't use any API. I don't use bots. I don't use any of that stuff. Only thing I'll really use is the index price you see for Bitcoin. I'm using the index, the Oracle price, the average of all the exchanges. I mean, that's a little bit of that, I guess. I don't use like Bitcoin on, Binance or Bitcoin and Bitstamp or whatever. But no, this is what I need. You folks for sentiment and the chart in front of me, the four corners of the chart. It's all I really need. Thoughts on Micron? Let's take a look at Micron. Oh, headed up there and I removed it. Okay. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great summer. Micron's bullish, man. I mean, super bullish. And it's got a little bit of the Morningstar action, not quite, but it's got this recapture. And so Micron's bullish, man. I like it. Nice reset, trying to reclaim the 50. Beautiful price distance to the MA200. Nice slope in the MA200. This looks good. This looks really good. I mean, if it does another leg down, I think this would be very, very profitable to buy in the 745 range. But I think it looks pretty good. I would definitely favor bulls for Micron. Let's see, Nick. How you doing, brother? Nick is requesting Tau. I'm catching up in the comments, folks. I'm doing my best. When you come here, I want to honor your presence and do these requests. I don't like Tau. Looks like shit. Hopefully you're not holding this one, are you? This is a terrible chart. Tau looks terrible. You got to avoid just holding downtrends, man. This is just a shit chart. This is just a terrible. This is just a terrible chart, Tau. I mean, it's just forget about it. Don't do it to yourself, okay? NPC, let's check Kraken. They've usually got pretty good chart history. This is another absolutely terrible chart. Are you holding these, man? Hey, Nick, please tell me you're not holding. This is the two you asked me about. These are just two absolute trash charts. Market hates them. I hate them. Somebody asked me about uranium ETF. I do have a position in that, and I'll tell you that for transparency. And I have it in this list somewhere. Okay, I mean, I'm down. I'm down like 15% of my position, but I'm just holding it in my dividend fund. Like, it's all good. But it's definitely got a loss of momentum, and I may have to I may have to decide if I'm going to hold it further. Certainly, if it loses, 30s, but certainly a loss of momentum. We see the MA200 curling over, and failed higher low, failed higher low. Very clear downward channel. So this chart looks like it's in trouble. I probably should have managed it much better, and I didn't. Luckily, it's a pretty small position, and I can live with it. And I've had some other things do really well. So like I bought a bunch of like random, like regional banks and stuff like these that have done really well, and so I can offset with that. So that's fine. So I covered uranium. Doesn't look good. David asked, does this change your long-term thoughts about Bitcoin? No, not yet. I mean, like. David, it's a great question, but look at the weekly trend. It's still pretty clear. Again, we have a clear series of falling lows in the weekly chart. We're well below the 50. To have any kind of confidence that the bottom is in, like here's the thing, you can still take a trade at 67K, and it could be the bottom, but we wouldn't have confirmation. So you can still take a long position without having to declare like the long-term bottom is in, right? Because you still absolutely, very clearly, just based on structure, need to get back up above 82, 83, and the SMA 50, right? See where the price rejected there last time. So until that, I mean, you're going to have to give bears the benefit of the doubt, whether it's here, rejection, whether it's here, whether it's here. We're in a clear downward channel, and that's where the momentum is on the higher time frame. So we need to see way more. There's no way to declare a bottom. It doesn't mean you can't take a long trade, which I started out the video describing the concept of, the two level, filter break, which is a way to protect yourself rather than just enter on a downtrend break. You wait for a clear lower high to be recaptured, and then you can just, define your risk based on the price holding that level or not. Rising Census, thank you. You're welcome. IBM gap and fill. Yeah, man, I've been watching IBM. I held it. I got rid of it a few months ago after like a massive run, and then went a little higher, and I was going to get back in. And I haven't. I don't have a position right now. That's a sick drop, and it's interesting, in this type of a drop. So look, clearly sideways on the daily chart. We can't do much here. Just go to the weekly. Step back, and it's the first MA 200 tag since 2023. So the thing though is this type of a candle, you're probably going to see more bearish follow through. I mean, that's the thing. This is just a nasty, it's nearly a Maribozu, right? Like pure candle body close at the bottom, big, heavy volume. It's probably like near to a bottom, but it could very easily go a little bit lower first. Like it's probably starting the beginning of a bottom here. But if you get another minor leg down, I would jam it, right? I would back up the truck for sure. So it's worth starting to watch, and you just really want to. I get it. Like that's a huge move. It's a strong name, but that's just a nasty move. And there's just momentum behind this such that you'd expect a little bit more bearish unwind before before it finally settles down. Let's see. I can look at a couple of these alt requests. I mean, these chart requests. Let's see. DRAM. I've heard of that one. I don't know the name off the top of my head. DRAM, no? DRAM, Round Hill Memory, okay. Not a ton of history in this captain here. I don't quite like it. Not enough history. Maybe some type of a rounding top. Maybe it's already broken down. Just don't have enough price history to really comment on that. I've already covered Micron, Rising Sun. I can look at Google just for Alphabet, just for fun, just because you asked for it. Actually, I think I had it on the list. I just removed it. I do that quite a bit. I have too many tickers to watch, man. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think you would like it here. It's a clear throwback, clear price pivot in the rising demand, the rising trend environment, and it has a local overhead level that also sets up for a potential long trigger if this can flip. So I just like how clean the structure is. I would give edge to bulls. Nestor says, thanks, Big Cheds. Big fan, top analysis. Always very complete, nice work and clean. Thank you. When I started this out, like a lot of people helped me. One person in general really helped me. And so I've always tried to give that back. And like all the stuff I've learned, all the textbooks I've read, I want you folks to have access to this stuff. Like this trading encyclopedia was not around when I started. 400 videos. Like this is professional technical analysis, free. 3-minute videos. You don't have to read the textbooks or do CMT. I'm just teaching it to you because like I've been there. I've been in the trenches and, I've been in the bottom. I've been somewhere not in the bottom. And I love engaging with you. And by teaching you, I get better. So thank you. I enjoy it. I try to teach clean professional TA. Check out my YouTube. Just to remind everyone, this stream is sponsored by BingX. They're my partner. I've worked with them for 7 years. They have their new DEX. Alpha X with no fees if you want to sign up. And if you want to use a DEX, BingX is really good. And of course, Bitcoin Live, where I'm a founding analyst. I do it twice a week, full market report. I've been there for 8 years. I haven't missed a report in like 7 or 8 years. So thank you for the commentary. Let's see what else you guys want to talk about. Palantir. We'll do Palantir. And then I want to do some more altcoins to make sure I'm doing a thorough coverage. I want this video to be quite thorough. I don't stream that often. When I do stream, I like to give you the opportunity to ask questions. And for those of you who are not in Bitcoin Live, I want to give you a good, thorough market update. Interesting in Palantir. It's clearly under pressure. And to me, it kind of looks like underside action. Just to bounce into this underside, look at the rollover of the MA200. I do want to go to a higher time frame to try to put this into a little bit better perspective. I mean, this probably wants to test lower. This probably wants to test lower. 110, 115 range is my sense just looking at the chart. So even if it bounces in here, I would expect this price to drift a little bit lower in Palantir. I mean, SpaceX, Jojo, what am I looking at? There's no history in this thing, but you can't really do TA in this. Like, what's the point? What kind of technical analysis can you do in this, right? I mean, like, there you go. What's there to do? I'm not gonna, you can go to 15-minute, 30-minute chart. Like there's nothing. On every time frame, this thing looks terrible. All right. So this is a great question. How old does a stock or coin need to be before you're comfortable doing TA? This is a great question. In general, and I'll use Bitcoin as an example, right? For the longest time, look at that, 66666, right? Everybody grab your cross. For the longest time, I've said that the highest time frame I've been comfortable analyzing Bitcoin is the weekly chart because it has the SMA 200, simple moving average, the SMA 200, which is also a WSMA 200, which means weekly simple moving average 200, so 200 candles equally weighted. But now we have, I believe, a monthly SMA 200. Barely. Where is it? It's down here. There it is. Look at that. So you can now do TA in the monthly chart. So once a chart starts to have 200 candles, I think you can reasonably use classical charting and TA on it. Okay. So, I mean, the monthly looks pretty good. It looks like a clear throwback on the monthly. It's just you need to see a better response first. It's the whole thing where like just holding support isn't good enough. Right. And it would have been cleaner to hold up here, honestly. It would have looked much better to hold up here. But we got our first bounce. We're back to the second level. Probably fails in here at some point. But that won't stop me from taking, the trade here on 67K if we get it. We're right there. We are right there. Okay. All right. So that answers all those questions. Let's look at the alts. I want to continue the altcoin scan. I'm going to see if anything jumps out here as being bullish or bearish, and then we'll wrap up the stream. It's been a great stream, almost an hour. How time flies. So thanks everybody. Ondo, nice little breakout here, nice volume, a nice price structure here on a 2-level filter break. Looked at near. These are all terrible. These are all terrible charts. Don't like that one. A little price compression, at least in SPX. At least it's kind of getting, see, thank you, TradingView. It's getting, you know, there's some compression. So you can watch for something, some volatility either way. But you see that that's right to the apex of the triangle. I mean, look, somebody's holding Polkadot. That's the thing. Look at this thing. What a trash. What trash. Somebody is holding these coins and refusing to sell because they're waiting for alt season. They're waiting for somebody to save them. But it's like you have to be in control of your bags. Do not hold down trends. If your trading idea fails, get out. That's it. Just get out if your trading idea fails. Okay, we've covered all of these already. We've already discussed these. We've discussed all these. None of these look really, and these are all, a bunch of these are just terrible. Let's see what INJ is doing. It's at least off the mat, right? It's not as bad as, say, like Polkadot, right? Can it get back up above $5, $6? We're on the $5. Right around $6, we shall see. It's just kind of a red light gone orange, right? And I have the red light, orange, green. I have a video on that concept in the encyclopedia about the idea of how the trend turns around. So INJ looks a little bit better. A little bit better. Just want to make sure I'm doing a thorough market look here for you folks. None of these are worthy of talking about. Not even XRP. See you later. Okay, and we already discussed Litecoin. If anything with Litecoin, I'm waiting for it to bounce a little bit higher, and then it would be a nice short setup. Okay, so we're in a situation to wrap things up, to put a fine bow on it, right? Okay, so I've already done Zcash. You can check out in the beginning of the video if you like, but very simply, just want to see if it can hold at 520 range. Now, we're in a situation on the Bitcoin chart, and I did a lot of discussions in Bitcoin at the beginning. So if you're just tuning in now or you're watching a replay, make sure you've gone back and watched it. I talked about the weekly trend. I talked about the idea of the primary, secondary, and the corrective trend. We're in a corrective phase now against the secondary trend, which is in charge. It's in control. We're in the falling channel, lower lows. Price is chopping through the SMA 200, and maybe we get an EMA 8. We're not there yet. You know, maybe we recapture the 20. We're not there yet, but we're in a falling channel, right? It's pretty clear in the weekly. And from just a weekly time frame, it looks pretty clear that it's going to test lower, right? In the meantime, the daily's trying to do something, and you can still observe the higher time frame trend on the weekly. And, you know, be ready for lower, but still take a trade based on structure. And so, again, I tweeted this out, you know, 2-level filter break, right? Here you go, 67K would trigger a 2-level filter break. So you can still wait for lower based on the higher time frame, but you can always just take the trade, the best trade in front of you, the cleanest trade, 2-level filter, break 67K. I think it's a good shot to get to kind of that low 70s mark. And then probably if it breaks out, it would reject somewhere in here at or just shy of the MA 200, right? It's a pretty strong downtrend. So even expecting a rejection here, I'd still take a long here because you have the asymmetry where, say, your stop loss is 66K. That's 1K lower. You have at least a chance to bounce 3K minimum, which is a 3-to-1 risk reward, which is the minimum you need in classical charting for that asymmetric risk to reward. So I would very much watch 67K, and then we're going to go from there. So those are my thoughts. High time frame, low time frame, medium time frame. Covered Ethereum. Want to see it hold 1850. It's got a little test above here, right around at 2150. We'll see how it does there. This has been a great stream. I would really encourage you folks to watch this trading encyclopedia, over 400 videos. If there are concepts you want to know, you can Google. You can Google them. But this is what's an inverted hammer. Here's a 3-4 minute video on inverted hammer. What's a C fork reversal? Like, these are things you've heard people talk about. You don't know how to use them. You don't understand them. This will give volume during consolidation. What should volume look like? During a consolidation. What's a golden cross? What's a bullish belt hold? Have you ever even heard of that? These are concepts in classical charting. Heikin-Ashi, candlestick, like 400 videos. I've been working on this for you guys for the last year. and maybe more than a year now. So it's over a year, one video a day. So over a year, I've been populating this playlist to teach you professional TA for free. I'm incredibly proud of the encyclopedia. I hope you're enjoying it. I'm of course on Twitter at Big Cheds, where I try to keep it clean. I don't spam memes too much, mostly just all crypto. And then stocks here and there, and quotes from my book and educational stuff. And I love hearing from you. So I'm on Twitter at Big Cheds, YouTube at Cheds Trading. All my books are free. I published 4 books that are on Amazon. I'm blessed. I'm thankful for the success, and it's mostly due to you folks. So thank you. And of course, again, sponsored by BingX, my favorite exchange. Check out their DEX Alpha X that they're working with. No fees. Check it out. Bitcoin Live. This is where it's all about. If you want to get extra, you want even more. This is the best team in the world that studies crypto. And I've worked with this team. It's the same team for like 7 or 8 years. It's the longest running team that does this. And I do a full market report, kind of like this, every Wednesday and Sunday night I will never skip. So check out Check out the public blog to see some sample reports. We're going to dance here. We're going to dance to the Church of the 8 Wheels. If I missed your comment, I apologize. I'll try to do it next time. It's just me. I got to, I think, 97% of the comments. I think that's pretty good. 97% of the requests. If you're here, you did a good job, because you've put in the time to learn. You've put in the time to hear my perspectives. Hopefully you can learn something from me. We don't have to have the same style, the same methodology. But no matter what, I'm just very, very thankful that you're here. So I love you guys. Thank you so much. And we're going to dance to the Church of 8 Wheels. Here we go.